finals questions, Grant, because you're a terrific analyst. And as I mentioned, not only a Hall of Famer, but you deserve to be in the top 75 basketball players of all time. I've watched this game, grew up in the game. You definitely deserve that honor. But whenever they come out with a 76, you'll be in there for sure. I have to ask you about this year's NBA Finals. Right now, it's tied 1-1. The Golden State Warriors blitzed the Boston Celtics in the third quarter. What are you seeing from either team, and who do you feel like may ultimately prevail in this series?
Well, first of all, I appreciate those kind words, and you've always, been a fan and advocated for me, so I'm always grateful for that. So I appreciate you for that. Interesting series. You think about it. 2 games in the 8 quarters, Golden State has pretty much dominated those 8 quarters, or at least won those 8 quarters. Boston had a great, fourth quarter in game 1. Boston, they haven't played well at home throughout the playoffs, which is really fascinating. They've done better on the road. Golden State figured some things out. They made them uncomfortable. They got in their space. They forced turnovers. Boston's capable, and certainly we've seen that. But Al Horford, Marcus Smart, of course, Derek White, they weren't able to get off. And I think Golden State said, look, we're going to play straight up Tatum and Brown and have Green and Wiggins guard those guys. And we're not going to let anybody else beat us. So the defense, I think, ratcheted up. I think the overall experience of Golden State, having been here before, you have to still give them the nod. I think Golden State in 6. I think Boston will win another game, but I think Golden State ultimately will prevail. Klay Thompson will play better. He's due for a big game. I think we'll see one here either in games 3 or games 4.
Thank you so much for the time. You can check out Grant's book, Game and Autobiography, anywhere that books are sold. You're welcome back anytime. Thank you so much. Appreciate you. Playoff series. What do you think about, because Brown wasn't alone, there's a lot of people who complained about the officiating from the Celtics side. What do you think about working the refs through the media in a playoff series?
Well, here's something I want to teach all fans and people that have never played high-level basketball. The team that's complaining the most to the refs is the one that's always losing. Did you hear that? The team that's complaining the most to the refs is usually the team that is losing. So if you're the Boston Celtics, you just got to stay the course and do what got you here. You can't, after every shot attempt, be looking at the refs. After every turnover, be looking at the refs. Because what ends up happening is that psychologically slows you down, and it gives an irritant like Draymond Green the advantage, because that's exactly what he does. I tell you all of the time, Jacoby, players are in the league most of the time because of their skill or their will. Jalen Brown is a skilled player that can lock down defensively. So is Jason Tatum and Al Horford. They're not only in the league because of their will. That's who Draymond Green actually is. So to combat that, you got to play stronger. You got to play more physical. You got to go through his chest. And then when you continue to go strong, you hope he now becomes the person that's complaining to the refs, not the person that's agitating you as an opponent.
Jalen Rose, you're about to head on a flight to Boston for Game 3. And one of the big storylines coming out of Game 1 and Game 2, while the Warriors did play well in Game 2 and got a blowout win, Klay Thompson still hasn't been the old Klay Thompson. Jalen Rose, do you expect Klay Thompson to sort of stay on this level of performance, or do you expect him to have a breakout game perhaps in Game 3?
If you notice on these highlights, they're A, making Klay dribble. B, they're running him off the three-point line. He played an NBA game where he scored 60 points and only dribbled 11 times. You just saw 11 dribbles right there when he was going to his left and fumbled the ball, hypothetically. That ain't who he is. He's a catch and shoot, heat check kind of player, one of the greatest that this league has seen. So it's important for people to create shots for him. Draymond Green, Jordan Poole, Stephen Curry come to mind. And a lot of times for Klay, he only needs to see one go in. He only needs to see one go in. And then before you know it, he's off to the races and it's flurries against the opponent. So Boston, I'll give them credit defensively for slowing down Klay. Now it's going to be up to Klay to shoot early in the shot clock sometime, to also continue to be aggressive when his opportunities present themselves. And I think he will have a breakout game. We know he will. He's one of the top 77 players. He's one of the top 77 players to every player in the NBA.
He's gonna win him a game. There's gonna be one game in this series that Klay Thompson scores 34, 35 points, and they get the win because of Klay Thompson. It's just a matter of when that game will be. Another storyline heading into Game 3 is the performance of Jason Tatum. Game 1, the shot wasn't falling. He turned into a playmaker, had 13 assists. Game 2, came out the box like, this is my game. I think he went 6 for 8 from 3 in Game 2. However, Mr. Rose, he still hasn't made that superstar leap, that we win because of me leap that you like to say.
Yep.
What do you expect him to counter with as the series heads back to Boston?
If you notice, for the most part, when you show him shooting the ball, it's on the perimeter. When you see him driving the ball, it's to pass. He had a couple of opportunities where he drove and he finished strong at the hoop. Here's a stat that I want you to watch for Jason Tatum. Free throws attempted. One of the things that allowed his game to grow, besides the fact that he improved his ball handling crazy, is that he got stronger, was able to absorb contact, and get himself to the free throw line. I want to see him taking more free throws than threes. I want to see him taking more free throws than threes. And also the other thing I would like to see him do is attack the rim with ferocity to dunk. Not to lay it up, not to do a floater, not to do a runner, to dunk. If you look at the Golden State Warriors, who's their shot blocker?
Kevon Looney?
Who's their shot blocker?
Draymond, I guess.
Right. So you have to attack the bucket to dunk. And when that happens, you might get the Warriors in foul trouble. And I want to give Wiggins a lot of credit for his defense. And shout to Gary Payton returning to add another defensive player to take pressure off of Jordan Poole. See, bringing Gary Payton back took pressure defensively off of Jordan Poole, and it allowed Jordan Poole to actually get going in the third quarter. So if you're Jason Tatum and these guys are on you, they're not going to block your shot. So you got to attack the basket to lay up sometime, to dunk almost every time, because they don't have an elite rim protector that's going to challenge him athletically.
So the way that he started Game 2, I was like, he saw what happened in Game 1. He's coming out firing. He's hitting contested threes. I think he had 4 threes in the first quarter. How come he wasn't able to continue that momentum and carry it into the third quarter and fourth quarter?
Because playing in the NBA Finals, it's really hard for somebody to score 25 points in multiple games. And so when Al Horford does that in Game 1, that's his game to help the team win. We'll look back like we did when the Raptors won it and looked at all of the players that had their 20-point game to finally help them win the championship. So if you're Jason Tatum and you see that you've gotten off to great first halves against the Heat and or the Celtics and or the Warriors, but it doesn't necessarily lead to great second halves. So what I would like to see him do is to attack early to try to get the Warriors into the bonus, and also attack that way in the second half. It seems like he goes very aggressive in the first half, and he doesn't have the energy to maintain that aggression in the second half. So he got to pace himself. That's why I talked about getting to the free throw line, because it's tough every time, Jacoby, to make a contested shot when you the go-to guy.
Yep.
That's just a tough way to live. And so getting to the line, that'll slow the game down some for him. I think that will allow him to be able to now pace himself and be very productive for 4 quarters, not just in the first half.
That's a great point. Now, Jalen, you've been pointing to Milwaukee and saying Darvin Ham deserves a head coaching job for years now, and he has that opportunity with the Los Angeles Lakers.